And now let's start the first panel discussion on micro-credential, focusing on the future of higher education for lifelong learning. In this session, we will learn what the possibilities seen in micro-credential as a tool to acquire specific skills for lifelong professional development from Thailand's corporate point of view. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite our moderator of the panel, Associate Professor Dr. Tipakon, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs of the King Mongkut University of Technology Thonburi, and our discussant, Mr. Sawit Suthipan, Client Solutions Executive from IBM Thailand Limited, and Mr. Isala Wongkusonkit, Honorary Chairman of Midpon Group and Chairman of National Economic Reform Committee. Please welcome them with a bit a round of applause, please.
Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Such is my honor to be the moderator for the first section. So you have been hearing from Mikhail and Dalen talking about micro-credential, talking about the higher education in the future, talking about lifelong learning. I think this is a keyword. Normally in Thai perspective, we focus on more like a lifelong learning, and we're thinking about how future of higher education is going to be. And the other side, it will be another non-education sector, with like these two, Kun Isala and Kun Bhavit. Okay, they come from the non-education sector. They are the ones who use our graduate to work. They do the work for us. So I think we will start with why the lifelong learning is so important and how higher education is going to change. For the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation is the very longest name of the ministry in Thailand. I take a while. So far, 3 years, I still cannot really call it correctly. But in short, we call MESI. So this is shorter. Okay, so we have a new policy that's coming up, talking about reinvent the university, talking about the credit bank, how are we going to recognize the learner, higher learning from working in the industrial or private sector. We're talking about how we improve the quality. All these things is the same as Mikhail said. What kind of mechanism that can provide us to do all these things? And then he already said something about micro-credential. What does it mean? The definition may be not correct, but it's involved with a lot of things that we have to do, especially changing the whole ecosystem of higher education of Thailand. So I think it's my honor to start with 2 panelists for us. So maybe we start with Kun Isala first. Is it okay? Okay, because you have to use the computer. So it will be start with Kun Isala. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bandit. Yeah. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and very good morning. I was invited by Dr. Bandit to be one of the speakers, but it's difficult for me to understand micro-credential. So I have to study and dig down to what they are. But finally, I think I found what we need actually in the business world 30 years ago that we needed. But we have done many things which I will explain later. But also as a member of the Higher Education Commission, as a policy maker, I'm one of the members. And also as my role as a private sector, I was the chairman of the Thai Chamber of Commerce and Board of Trade of Thailand. And also I'm now the honorary chairman of the Midpon Sugar, which are involved in we are one of the largest sugar company in Asia actually. But I believe that everybody agree now that the higher education, we will talk about lifelong learning. So that means that we can learn all the time. Even my age, I still learning. So I think it's very important for today's changing world. And the demand for a graduation workforce, which very rapidly change, which why we are talking about micro-credential today. So I will explain what we have done, as a committee, subcommittee of the graduate building development of the people workforce. We initiate to have this philosophy of lifelong learning. Also, we state about the competition. We have to develop the students or the workforce to be competitive, being able to adapt to the social and technology changing that quickly. And so I think the education system in Thailand now have changed a lot in the past 3 years. So all universities are very free to create so many curriculum or create so many activities, but we encourage to work with the user, which means private sector or even the government sector. So the key initiative of the subcommittee is to formulate the skill mapping. The skill mapping shown in the center here, that you can see that the skill mapping, we have the first stage, the King Mongkut Institute of Technology, Lat Krabang, will study from LinkedIn and what needed for each job, what kind of curriculum needed. So it will be a cross-function between so many departments in the university. And so when we start the skill mapping, we start with 3 sectors. First is number 1 is the agriculture. Number 2 is the tourism. And then the other one is the how to the SME, the small and medium enterprises. So we start with that, and we also work with the private sector to ask them for their opinion, whether what they needed. But the first stage takes some time. But after all, we have the platform. When the platform working, so the university can, many university can, because we during the pandemic, so we have the online explain to all university, and when they understand, they will adopt this system, so that if in the, say, for instance, in the northeast of Thailand, there are a lot of food industry or agriculture industry, so they can adopt this system and also work with private sector there. So also the private sector can look what are the needs for each position. For instance, if they are farm manager, what the knowledge that they needed. Because as a private sector, sometimes we don't know also what we needed. But we know that our people are not that capable when we compare to the world competition. So, but when the two sides matching, And this is real time. So the demand will change and supply will also changing. So I think this one then will be skill-based curriculum, right? Design. When it's design, then we can offer transcript to the learner, right? And then the validation is very important. The quality, how to validate the quality of the curriculum. So I think this is very important. This is how we create. So as a non-academics, I think very difficult for me to understand. But at the real life, we know what we needed. So how to match between the two? In the past, university, normally they do their own curriculum. But now we're trying to have them, working together. So I think it's working now. It's not easy because for the private sector, also, we normally blame on university, on the professor, that they are not committed. That's what happened. But sometimes we are not tolerate also. So that I think we have to understand each other. So this is what happening at the higher education at the moment. But I like to explain what happened in the past. Our pain point. I'm from the sugar industry. So our industry was very premature at those days, 40 years ago. And we don't know who we can depend on. So what we do, we trying to hire some expert. We hire some expert from overseas, from Australia, from South Africa, even from Europe. Europe is mainly producing beet, but in our part is sugar cane. So it's difficult to get the expert in each field because our people don't speak English in those days. Well, they speak, but when they see European, they will walk away, right? So, but I have to be a translator, right? Translator. As a translator, I learn a lot. So sometimes I know more than engineer. So we know what we needed, right? So I was asked by some of our partner friends from Europe, mainly Ted and Lai, the company. They asked me, what do I want to know? I said, I like to know what I don't know, right? So because we don't know what we don't know. So if you want to suggest anything, I will open for listening. So that's our pain point, so that we don't know how to find the expert in the sugar technology, in the sugar cane development, in the farm management. That be our pain point. But then I think we have to. We are helping the University of Kasetsart Sat University over 20 years ago to create the sugarcane technology 1 year program, one and a half year program, which has to be, the student has to be working within the industry or involved in the industry, so that the program will be mainly on the processing side from the beginning. But later on, we expand into the agriculture also. But actually about 6 months that will be teaching, learning at university. At the same time, on the sugar operation season, the professor will work with the student at the site, on site, for 4 or 5 months. So I think this way is very good because professor also learning the real life experience. So actually now we still have that class going on. And as a sugar industry, we have to support the program like this. But I think very effective now because we don't have to have so many experts from overseas at the moment. We can exchange between the university. Another program that we have done in about 7-8 years ago, we worked closely with the King Mongkut Institute on the heat losses, on the boiler, on the bagasse recovering. So we're producing a lot of electricity, generate electricity from the bagasse, so that we are able to have a more and more efficient heat management. So I think in this field, actually, most of the private sector could not understand how to work with the university and which university expert in what. So I think the platform that we created at higher education on the skill mapping, it helped a lot on this one. Another example that I like to highlight is that we don't know how to manage farm because we don't have our own farm. Our farm is for demonstration, so that we have mostly all the contract is contract farming. So how to get the farmer effectively work on and get the production, and they can make profit, cost saving. So it's all come to management, come to knowledge that apply into the field. We have to create a program with some expert from Japan. We call the Ideal Academy. So we create our own Midpon Sugar Academy to teach our own people first, and then move on to the farmer. We have a program for the farmer. But the most important is family business. How to pass on into the next generation. Because Thailand is actually, we're getting into the old age society already. So we have to think about mechanization. We have to think about the precision farming. So where do we get the knowledge from? I think to work closely with the expert, with the university, with the institution in Thailand or overseas is very vital, very important. So I think this is the example that I highlighted to the audience. But my conclusion is that I think the micro-credential is will answer all our pain point, our problems. Once we understand, when we recruit the new student, and most importantly, our existing employee, we want them to have so many multi-skill to move to the next level. So I think the micro-credential will answer all of this. So once the employees understand they want where they want to be and what position they can learn by themselves, we can promote them to learn. So I think this is a very good system that I think I should end my speech now. But I would support the program whenever I can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kun Isla. And we will come back for the question later. Okay, so I think is Kun Isla really speak on behalf of two hats. One is a policy maker for the MESI. The other one is the one who really workforce from the workforce and it's a demand side and supply side also. And something that I should tell you that we actually I almost start with the criticism that we have from the from the higher education, from your university, from the other side. But I don't want to say it by myself. It's like, let Kun Isla is the one. It's more valuable to us that it's no time. We have to really change the way that we produce the graduate to work in the workforce that changing so fast. And then the demand is even in the short period of the window. We have a short time. Our life is shorter and shorter every day. And we have to, if we think that this is the right, we just do it. We don't have time to wait until to make sure that this is right, this is wrong. But this is a disruptive era. You have to do it within the short, small gap, very, very short length of the window. So this is a very and key issue that he wants to deliver. And he also mentioned that to serve or to comply to the new physiology of Highland higher education, which is come out, I think the end of last year or beginning of this year, I cannot remember correctly. Yeah, but make it just the beginning of this year, that now we have to produce graduate who get the degree and non-degree all together. But all in all, we need the competent. Then we want to make them competent to work right the way. We don't have time to wait for them to get experience in the industry or the corporate. So we need job-ready graduate. How are we going to do it? This is a question for the next 2 days from now on. Thank you very much, Kun Isra. Now I pass it on to Kun Pavit. So he is from the IBM. So I think it's maybe can you talk about for us about experience that you're familiar with the micro-credential digital badge? I heard a lot of things from IBM.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay,ครับ. So thanks a lot for giving me opportunity. Sorry for I'm not fluent in English anyway. Today I would like to show you what IBM using the micro credential in the company. So that's why I have to go to that one and show you. Okay, ขออนุญาตครับ
Go ahead.
So when we join IBM, of course, a lot of skill that we should have in the industry is not with the employee yet. So we have to training our employee to focus on the job that they have to do. For example, like I have to take care of the oil and gas industry, so I have to learn how oil and gas industry is doing. So in IBM, we use the micro credentials, and we also giving the badge. We call the digital badge for each employee. We also have the KPI target for the employee to gain the badge each year. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to show you how IBM using this system. Okay, first of all, when we log on to the system, so we can have the Your Learning at IBM. So this is the portal that every IBMer have to go in and then find out what the class that they have to learn. For example, like if I want to know the industry, so I can search. Oh, sorry, it's not coming up yet. Okay, let's do like this. Okay, sorry. Okay,ครับ. Okay, sorry. Okay. Right now you can see my desktop already. ขึ้นแล้วนะไม่
Yes.
ใช่ desktop ครับ
Yeah.
โอเคมันแชร์แล้วนี่ขึ้นแล้วนะครับโอเคครับ so you can see Think 40 is the target for general people have to spend at least 40 hours for the system. Okay, so let's say like I want to go to the industry jumpstart. Okay, so we have a lot of learning class. Okay, I'm going to the this class, so I go to the activities. Okay, and I'm part of the IBM, so they have to confirm. Some of the class is confidential, some of the class is for other person, so the system will detect this one and then they will grant for the authorized people only, right? Okay. Okay, so if I'm want to use this one, then I enroll into Jumpstart, something like this. Okay, and then I learning it. It have the video, have the text, PDF, something like that, and then after we finish the class, we will get the badge. Okay, so right now I'm for the chemical and petroleum Jumpstart, so I launched this learning micro credentials. Okay, and you can see this is not only the short period, but it's like a 4-week class. Each class will have the information inside. Okay, and I have to pass all the class. So I have to click and then I'm going to, okay, first of all, I already do it 15 minutes, get started with the Jumpstart. This is the normal one. And then I have to review the chemical petroleum industry primer, which is the textbook I have to read. And then at the end, I have to pass the examination, okay? And then I got the badge, okay? So this is what IBM, our internal doing this, and everyone have the target, okay? Now I finished the demonstration, and I'm going back to the presentation now. Okay. The question is why an employee have to do this? Of course, yes, performance evaluation in IBM, we include this skill and knowledge KPI inside. So meaning that if the employee is not learning what they have to do, then they will get less score and then they may affect the compensation and promotion. This is quite important in the organization because everyone working in the company, they also want the promotion and compensation, right? So the question is back to the higher education. How you can drive your student. For example, like if you are teaching about a bachelor degree, okay, and we switch to use the micro credentials, who will drive the student to enter into the class and get the badge? It's not easy. It's not like the road that we plan for them and they have to go step by step, but this one will depend on the driver that they have to do, okay? For the re-skill or the existing worker and want to join, I think the driver is there already because they have to learn new things and then they will forced by the company to do learning. But for the student, it's quite difficult to drive. Okay, so of course every problem has the answer for it. So I would like to share some of the tools that I think it will help you if you don't do this one yet, okay? So the tool is easy and I think everyone know already, but what I want to show you is that IBM also use these tools to provide to the customers and university to solve the problem like this. Okay, so the tool is the enterprise design thinking. Because right now we force the new problem, so we have to new things and to try to solve them, okay? So the QR code that I show is the class, that is the micro credential that IBM provide for all in this industry. After you scan this QR code, so you can go into the website and you apply for the IBM ID, because after the class, if you pass, you get the digital badge, and digital badge will put it in this ID. Okay, so every student that going to use the IBM system, they also minimum requirement is they have to pass this one before enter into the program that I'm going to tell you later. Okay, so this one is the 3 hours class. Okay, and we found that this is like not interactive, but there are some engine behind this one. Okay, why I want to use this one is because first of all we want to transform your organization, transform the higher education. So we have to rethink the new things. Okay, so design thinking is one of the tools that we can use it. Okay, let me try to run the summary of the design thinking that provide into the tools. Okay, not sure that the sound is
What is design thinking?
Okay.
Design thinking is a problem-solving approach that aims to improve people's experiences. Instead of seeking to define an idea by its structural parts, it focuses on how an idea helps a person achieve a task and how it makes them think and feel. Design thinking originated in the late 1960s and early 1970s as a way to work differently by focusing deeply on the human experience when creating physical products. As a practice, it meant that in order to design the best chair possible, the people working on that chair must consider who would be using it, where, and how. Today, design thinking is applied to almost every modern field and industry. People have extracted the basic components of design thinking and used them to design complex products, such as MRI machines and software, and also services such as air travel, business consulting, and customer service. A variety of models exist today outlining these basic components. The Stanford D School, for example, one of the first organizations to formalize a comprehensive design thinking curriculum, uses this model. A flow from building empathy, defining a problem or opportunity, to ideating a solution to that problem, prototyping it, and testing. Most design thinking models follow such a flow. They include many of the same values, focus on real people and their real needs, interact with those people to understand what problems they face, think about how to solve those problems by coming up with many ideas, not just one or two. Be visual in your thinking and brainstorming, and experiment by quickly and cheaply testing unfinished ideas to understand how they might work. When you practice design thinking, you consider a person's true, unique experience, not just technology and requirements. In this way, you're not designing a vase. You're designing a better way to enjoy flowers in your home.
Okay, so we not design the vase, but we design the experience of enjoying the flower in the house. So back to my question, you have to drive the student to learn micro-credentials. So you're not building the system, you're not building the application, but you have to build the experience of the environment of the system. So if you don't think like this, then please let's use this kind of thing. And I think the person who in the board and put the post-it sticker is not only the teacher, it should be the student. Because design thinking starting from the person who use this application, which is the student. And maybe not only student, maybe the undergrad, postgrad or whatever, a lot of people. Okay, so some of universities that IBM working right now start to use design thinking to change their curriculum of the engineering faculty, something like that. Okay. So we're talking about change. Higher education have to be changed. Okay. Of course, adopt to change is quite difficult. But if you are the person who want to be the driver for the change, it's more difficult. You may stuck with a lot of rule and regulation, something like that. So that's why I think the job that we are here in this room is not easy. Okay. In the future, I'm not sure, but maybe the skill that teacher have, maybe you have to be a good teacher and then you become a facilitator. Because when the class is changed to be a lot of micro-credential, normally this kind of class is like digital and they're, running with not involved much with the teacher. So the teacher change the position to be facilitator and drive. Okay. So the future of the teacher may create the content, building into the system, okay, support and accelerate the student to use and find out the outcome. Okay. Of course, in design thinking, we're talking about the loop, meaning that everything will be the prototype of the next generation. So after you put the credential system on the university, that one have to be, rethink and be the prototype of the classroom in the future. Okay. The next question is why? Why IBM or other enterprise company have to input the micro-credential in their system, the HR driving this one? Because skill is not mapped. When the university building the student, of course, maybe our curriculum is quite old and we also difficult to change that curriculum to cover with the new, changing of the world. So the company right now, a lot of company in US and in Europe, okay, we think about, I mean, maybe the student graduate from university may not fit to the job that we have. What we're doing is that we start looking to the diplomatics or the undergrad people. IBM also start some program called P-Tech. We're working with some university or institute in Thailand also. Okay, and I'm going to show you some video talking about what, I mean, other country in Europe or even in Thailand think about hiring lower than the bachelor degree.
Most kids today will have jobs that don't exist yet.
The energy management systems coordinate with autonomous vehicles.
Financial data, so now we can predict the future of our new flexible propeller
By
design.
collaborating with public schools on a program called P-Tech, IBM is helping students build the skills they'll need for tomorrow.
Please revolutionize
aerospace industry.
It's an entirely sustainable approach.
Any questions?
When you rethink education, everyone can put smart to work.
In Thailand, we're working with 4 private companies and 4 institutes right now to drive this program to the student. The thing that we found is that maybe the student in Thailand in the P-Tech program is more junior, and a lot of them cannot, I mean, talking fluent in English. So this is the problem right now. And so it's different from Europe. I mean, in P-Tech in Europe, may very, I mean, knowledgeable, but in Thai we have to develop more on that. Right? Anyway, this is what we think about on this one. Okay, this is the thing that changed. Okay, last 10 years change for the digital only 10%, 16% within 10 years, but then it's more than double in only 1 year. You can see the pandemic drive everyone to buying the thing online, calling the food delivery, something like that. And that one need a lot of people who knowing the IT industry. IBM is the company that playing in this area, so we foresee the problem in the future. And every company in Thailand and in the world also see the same thing. Okay, so we think that by the year 2022, 75% of IT organizations will have the undergone process to transform the digital transformation, okay, and impact 80% of the process and affect 90% of the IT employment, right? They have to do the rethink, retrain, okay. For Thailand, we expect that the ICT specialists will lack, and then they will be the skill that we require in the very near future. So for the employers, 76% of IT and technology employers right now report that difficult to find the skill that they need. This is quite important. So we need the data science. We need the AI knowledge in the student. We need in the future will be quantum or something like that. So if the university cannot produce this kind of, workforce for the industry, then the industry also have to help themselves by starting something like micro-credentials, which is not economically valuable for the country and the companies. Okay, 4.3 million workers will lack in 2030. 4.3 million workers for IT will need and lacking in the future. And the APAC area, Asia Pacific, will be the first region that affect this one very fast, because we don't have the good enough, education to build the resort that we need. In Europe or in America, they will have the education system to support this one. And we found that 1.8 billion opportunity will be lost for Thailand only if we don't have the skill that we need. Okay, what the company like IBM doing? Okay, So we make a decision. This is the 111 years of the companies, and we make a decision that we're going to provide the education as the CSR. So IBM, beginning of this year, we open all the class that we provide for the skill in the futures, pass through the universities, and this is free for all of you, your student and your teacher. We call this program is IBM Global University Program, and this is the program that with worldwide. And in Thailand, we don't have the dedicated people to do this, so we set up as the voluntary program for all the IBM people in Thailand. Okay, I'm one of the team. Okay, if the university want to join this one, of course it's a micro credential. One part of it is a micro credential class. Okay, so the university will get 5 things from the list. The first one is the IBM Academic Initiative, which is the online, purely online micro credential system. The second one is IBM Skill Academy, meaning that IBM will let the IBMers train the trainer for the teacher. We also provide the curriculum, and this one is not the short course, it's like 1 semester for each subject. The third one is IBM University Award. If you have the good research or good project, so we can have the place that you can, contest and award for that kind of thing, okay? The fourth one is quite important right now. IBM opened the research institute to co-working with your research team in universities. For example, like we are talking with one university in Thailand right now about the quantum hub. So the professor can use the quantum cloud computing in Poughkeepsie, New York, to provide some research for the companies or the students in Thailand. Okay, and then we also have the university guest lecturers. So if you're going to the website and you think you want a guest speaker for, let's say, like data science, so you can going inside and then you can see the people who voluntarily to be the guest lecturers, and you can select. And if their time is okay with you, then they may, online or flying to teach you in the universities. Okay. Okay. I think I have to go fast. Anyway, you can find out the information on this. Okay, so the first program is initiative, academic initiative, which is the online, purely online. Okay, and the second, this is the curriculum that we're showing. Okay, I want to chat something like the COBOL class. Okay, you may know the COBOL language. It's quite old already, but for Thailand, a lot of companies still use mainframe and they still need the COBOL. One of the Thai university right now apply this one and trying to build 680 students for this year to support the COBOL. And they make sure that their students will get a job and enter into the big companies, and then they can grow up from that part. Okay. Okay, this is the kind of the micro-credential. The green one is the fundamental. Okay. We also provide this one not only for the engineering customer, the student, but also some other discipline like healthcare, something like that. But the class will be not too deep into the technical. It's trained to be like the matching with the job that they have to do. Okay, if the university want to use the online class, this is some kind of the suggestion class for our discipline. Normally the student drive to learning online and then have 90 minutes virtual guest lecturer, something like this. Okay. And this is for the IT. Normally they focus on the securities and blah, blah, blah for the IT. And if you want to teaching for the healthcare nurse or the medical school, they also have to know the cloud, the data science, the AI. So this is the class. But you can see the hours of the class is less, let's say like 2 hours only. Okay. And for Skill Academy right now, we open for Thailand 5 class, cloud computing, data science, AI, cybersecurity, and design thinking. This is no charge for you, but you have to assign the professor to train the trainer with IBM. And we have 2 things that we request because this is CSR. The first one is that please do not change the class curriculum. You can add, but you cannot cut it out. Because there are the digital batch related to the class. So if you cut the content of the class, then the batch will not valid. The second one is that this is the CSR. So if the university charge maybe outside or charge to the student the rate, do not increase the rate. You can use the normal one, but please not increase the rate of the university. Okay. University also can use this one to retrain the worker that already graduate. Okay, this is also okay for this class. Because of the target of the class is to build the skill for the industry. So this is the thing that we have to work together, the private sector and also the university together. Okay. For the Skill Academy, there are 3 parts, the theory part and the laboratory part, and also the industry use case. The laboratory part, IBM will open the IBM Cloud, which has the Watson AI or the data science database, something like that, to use for the learning. So you see no need to buy the infrastructure for the class. Okay. When the student enter into the system, they have to pass the design thinking for practitioner, the one that I show the QR code. Okay, this is the mandatory because all the class is disruptive technology. So we think that going to use that kind of technology, the user have to change their mind to think out of the box. Okay, and then they complete the lecturer in the university. Then they have to pass the multiple choice of examination and also proof of applied skill that user will provide to the system, and then IBM will provide a badge. And this badge linked to the job market, so the student can see what is the salary or what is the requirement of which company, something like that. Okay. So in action, right now we partner with 4 universities at the first phase, okay, and then we already do the news, the press conference already, and they're right now working with IBM. So KMUTT also, joining this one, okay, ทำครับ okay, so I would like to finish my presentation at this moment, and hope you, understand what the private sector try to help the universities and the education ครับขอบคุณครับ Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Kun Savit. Well, I see the MC, so it
Okay.
means the time is up.
Actually, we have a couple times for questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I want to make some of the points that Kun Savit tried to tell us. The one is a threat that really, for me, is a threat because the big company like IBM is going to create global university academic on themselves. How many companies will follow this? And then the thing that they maybe, Kun Isla said, our academia have to change our mindset. And he said, if you cannot do it, we will do it because we have more experience. But they want us to cooperate with them on the academic side also. So this is, I think, is an opportunity. How can we build together, and how can we build the workforce together? And the keyword is learning to close the gap of demand, which is happen in a very short period of time. How are you going to close it? IBM used MC to really close this gap. And then he said the MC, the big issue is if you use it in a formal education, how are you going to make your student have responsibility for their own learning? This one side. The other side, do you support that? Do you have a facility to support them? Normally, we have like a set thing to do. Our curriculum is set. And the next thing is the degree credential take too long to answer, to respond for the short demand. How are we going to make it a shorter, something smaller credential? I think this is a good point for the MC. We're not really a degree credential, but we have an alternative credential that can really respond to the immediately demand. Thank you.
Very much. Moderator อาจารย์ ขอโทษค่ะ อาจารย์บัณฑิตทิพากร and I think it's now the session for Q&A. If you have, please raise your hand, and our staff will bring you the microphone. Okay, please, gentlemen, this gentleman, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Hazman from Malaysia. My question specifically to Mr. Sawit. How far do you think Thailand is in terms of the micro-credentials like the one you're talking about becoming an alternative to going to university and getting a degree? How far are we there?
Sorry, I may not quite understand your question. The question is that, I mean, you think when this program will enter into the university, something like that?
Okay, let me repeat.
Sorry.
You were speaking of these micro-credentials and all the skill programs that you have.
Yes.
It allows graduates to acquire the skills to become productive employees, for example, in this case with IBM.
Right.
Right? So it's actually topping it up, making them ready for the work. But projecting into the future, how far into the future do you think that your bright high school students will say, okay, I'm not going into the university, but I will go and get these courses, build a portfolio of skills and build the competencies, and then I go to IBM and say, I can do this work. I have taken the courses from you and the likes of you.
I quite difficult to tell you how many years, something like that. I think it's very soon. Right now, what I found is that, I mean, the student in the year 3 in the engineering university already hiring by the companies. And they also allow the student to learn, I mean, going to the university to learn, but they already recruit that person to be the employees already. And right now, it's going to the year 2s already. Okay, some of the school that we meet, we find out the 17 years old K-12. I mean, in Thailand we call Mathayom 6. Okay, he's the CEO of the companies already.
Grade 12. It's grade 12,
right?
Yeah.
They are the CEO of the company already, and they get more money than the teacher already. 17 years old. So things change, and I think, of course, follow the change is very difficult. But if you want, you are, in this room, you are the person who drive the change, so it's more difficult.
I would like to add on to his comments, Sawit. IT demand and IT skill is not really the age. It depends on the person themselves. If they are willing to learn, they can start doing IT skill from very young. They don't need to go to all the primary education, secondary education at all. You can see the very good example is programmer. We can find the programmer from age 5 and then all the way to 60 years old. So it is not really depend on the age for the IT. And then he also mentioned that 4.3 million shortage for this field. You have to fill in within the next 8 years. So this is a very challenge for the higher education and the company. Yeah.
In fact, IBM have another program called Skill Build. That one is target on the K-12, and we try to drive the AI and data science to the student in K-12.
This is PTEP, right?
That's not PTEC is for the
PTEP is for another one. Okay.
So we plan that. Okay, the people in the mountain area can learning the AI.
I see.
But the class is not too deep.
I see. Any more questions? Mikhail.
Please.
Thank you very much for this very interesting presentations. Just a very quick question from my side. How does a company like IBM work with national authorities to ensure recognition of the learning taking place in your initiatives? So it's a question to both speakers, basically representing both the side of regulators and the supply side for this type of micro-credentials. If you could elaborate a little bit on how you work in the Thai system to drive this topic forward. Thank you.
Okay, I go first. Okay, for IBM, we just start this program this year, beginning of this year. So we're talking direct to the university at this moment, and for the PTech, we're talking to the government already, but for the university program, we just start talking.
Do you have any comment, Kun Isara?
Well, I think we have so many committee anyway. So I think if I am already have this program, I think you have to work with the first. I think with the permanent secretary or deputy permanent secretary who in charge of the university, you know, switch. Actually, I think we can do. I think we can work with that, Dr.
Yes.
So start with that and then move on into, you know, Thailand is a little bit complicated on budgeting and then things like that. But maybe can sometimes can have the private sector to support on this one. So to work with the private sector also. For instance, the Federation of Industry or the Chamber of Commerce. So that's the way to go.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
recognition we did on both sides. Okay, for us, academia recognize the one that doing by IBM corporate side, and also how about the corporate recognize the learning from university. So the recognition mechanism might be the very important to implement the MC beside the quality of the higher education. So recognition, which is Thailand call this one like a credit bank, but they not really spell out its recognition process or mechanism. But we have to think about it. Thank you, Mikhail. I think it's from the Zoom.
Yeah, we have a question from Zoom
From
audience. This question is for Kun Sawit. How do you evaluate if the badge should be given to the learners?
Okay, they have the multiple choice, and if the joining through the skill academic program, so the teacher in the university have to be the person who said that the student already used the skill. But for the online, pure online, there will be examination online, and they have to pass that one.
Okay, thank you very
That's
much.
all the question.
Yeah, only one question.
I think it's the
for
time.
now.
The
I
time
think.
is really up. But,
Yeah,
but if you're still
it's-
with us, the question can come anytime. And I think two of you maybe stay with us for the whole day. Maybe not. For a while. Stay for a while. But we will collect the question and then maybe we can let them answer online or something like that on our website. But thank you very much. I think it's thank you, Kun Isara, and thank you, Kun Sawit, for
Thank you very
giving
much.
us a very good point of that.
Thank you very much for the thought-provoking conversation